everyone, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sitting down here in the basement bait shop on a snowy winter day. It's blowing like 30 out, so hopefully you don't hear that coming against the window because the window's been shaking a little bit. But it is what it is. It's kind of depressing because as I go through social media posts, I see everyone down in Alabama and Florida and Texas catching giant bass, and I'm sitting up here and we've got 20 inches of ice on the water, and it's still building because we don't have really any more warm weather. It looks like coming anytime soon. So we've still got a lot of winter up here. Kind of depressing, but that's how it is. So I got a couple of things I want to address. The first, today's topic, we're going to be talking about fishing ultra pressured bodies of water. I've gotten a lot of questions since I started this channel from individuals wanting to know my best approach and best baits to use for ultra finesse or not for ultra pressured bodies of water. And, you know, with the way things are right now, we've got more anglers than we've ever had in the sport. We've got, a limited number of lakes and rivers, and pretty much regardless of where you go, you're going to see a ton of anglers on the water. So over the last couple of years with COVID, we've definitely seen an influx in the number of people who are looking to get outdoors and the people who are no longer working from an office, but they're working from home, which allows them more time out on the water. So what I want to do is talk about that, but I also want to address something that a lot of you have noticed already, and that's the fact that I've been putting Tackle Warehouse links in my video descriptions, and that is because I've joined the Tackle Warehouse affiliate program. I've moved on from the realshot.com, and I want to give them a huge thank you because they really stuck with me when nobody else would. You know, when I started the channel about a year ago, I had I had less than 1,000 subscribers. I reached out to a handful of people to join the affiliate program, and I was turned down by all of them. The Real Shot said, "Come on, Matt, we want you." And I went over there and we had a really great relationship. But from a business perspective, I think the best thing for me to do is move over to Tackle Warehouse. And that really just comes down to representing my sponsors. You know, when Tackle Warehouse carries pretty much every product that my sponsors make, it gives me the opportunity to fully promote them, which helps them grow their business, which allows me to grow my business. The Real Shot just is such a small local shop that they aren't able to carry every product. And that, hindered me, not from a promoting standpoint, because I still went ahead and talked about whatever the bait was I wanted to talk about. I mean, really, my videos, I do not gear towards what can I push product in? It's really, this is my topic. I talk about the baits in it, and then I would go and look, and the Real Shot would have, a handful of the baits I talked about or some of the items, but not everything. So it was limiting my exposure to, for some of my sponsors. And there's also some really good synergies. You know, one of the top selling baits at Tackle Warehouse is my Dirty Jigs Matt Steffen Guppy swim bait head. And because Tackle Warehouse is so large, they have almost always in stock every size and color of the guppy head. So therefore, I can promote that really well. And because I'm not getting, back end money on it, it's nice to make a little bit of money from an affiliate program on a bait that I helped design. And then at the same time, they also are the main sponsor of the Major League Fishing Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, which is the tournament circuit I fish, and therefore there's some synergies that come with that as well. So I want to give a huge shout out to the Real Shot. I will continue to do my best to work with them in the future as a local Wisconsin shop not far from where I live. There's a lot of great things that I know we'll be able to work on together in the future. But in the meantime, when it comes from putting links to the baits that I'm talking about, they will be going to Tackle Warehouse in the future. And I'm excited to be able to, really have the ability to represent or have the ability to, talk about every color and then have Tackle Warehouse have those colors or that size of a bait. And that's not a fault to the Real Shot at all. It's just from a business perspective, I think it was the best move to make. And it really came out of the blue. They approached me and wanted me to join the affiliate program, and I just think it's a good move to make. So guys, if you are looking to buy some tackle and want to support the channel, and the Real Shot doesn't have it, definitely go to the description of my video, and you can see I've got a link to Tackle Warehouse, and it's just the main page. So if you really want to support the video, take that link, put it in your web browser, and then bookmark it. So then when in the future you go to your bookmarks and you pull up Tackle Warehouse, those sales will be attributed to Matt Steffen Fishing, and I'll get a little bit of the funds from it, which helps support the channel, helps allow me to make these videos and make it all worthwhile. It's a really good way to show me that there's people out there that really enjoy the videos and want me to keep doing them. So I'm excited for that. And that leads us into today's topic, which is our ultra pressured bodies of water. And I tell you, I've got a bunch of different baits and very specific reasoning as to why I like to use these baits, but it's not necessarily you guys have to throw the exact bait I am. These are my preferred baits. It's more about the style and the way I'm fishing the bait. So if you've got a bait that you prefer to use, you know, versus the one I'm using, go with it. But you need to fish it in the same manner or have the same technique rigged up, because these are going to really work in high pressured bodies of water. And for me, the two ways that you want to fish in a situation like that is either ultra finesse, where the fish just cannot deny your bait. Even if they see it a lot, there are baits out there that just, for whatever reason, the fish just, like it's candy. They can't turn it down. The other way is to fish a reaction bait, which will get the fish to react even if they're not hungry. That's a huge way to get pressured fish to bite. And there's some keys to that as well. So let's start with some of the baits. The first, and potentially my favorite anytime I'm on a high pressure body of water, is a Wacky Rig. The Max Scent General is my favorite Wacky Rig bait that's out there. I do feel like the scent formula and that Max Scent formula really helps in that ultra pressured situation. But another really big key to the way I rig my Wacky Rig is the hook. So in this case, this is the weedless finesse wide gap. So if I'm fishing around wood, I like the weedless one. Otherwise, I just like the standard Fusion 19 finesse wide gap hook. But the reason I like this hook over what a lot of people would consider this as a standard Wacky Rig hook is because of the short shaft on it. I feel like anytime you're throwing a longer shafted hook, you're going to get less bites, because that is not nearly as camouflaged in the bait as a small wide gap finesse hook like this. You know, this looks much more compact. It's much more in the bait versus having a long hook shank coming out of the bait. You may occasionally not get as good a hookups with that bigger hook, but I'd rather take that chance with a small hook, generate more bites, than have a big, you know, like a 4/0 straight shank hook in it. Like, to me, that just, you lose the luster of a Wacky Rig anytime you're dealing with very pressured fish. So for me, having that small finesse wide gap hook is a huge factor in the Wacky Rig. But it's really just a bait that the fish have a hard time turning down because of that super slow fall. I like to fish them weightless. If I want to fish deeper, I'll switch more to the NACO style, you know, which is basically a weighted Wacky Rig. But I'll go with, again, a very, very lightweight, like a 32nd of an ounce or a 3/32, something really light, just because I don't want that bait to fall right to the bottom. I want it to be a slow fall and then be able to work it the same way I'd work a Wacky Rig. But that's probably my favorite ultra pressured body of water bait. That catches fish everywhere you go. Next up, and along this kind of along the same lines, is I like a Creaturestyle flipping bait, a smaller, more compact one. And you guys know I love the Max Scent Creature Hog. It's just a great bait, and the beaver style bait has more of that gliding motion versus the kicker leg motion. And I think the fish can get accustomed to that vibration from kicker legs, but it really has more to do with the movement of a non-craw style flipping bait. So if you're throwing the beaver style, you get more of a glide fall versus more up and down with legs kicking. And the reason I like that glide is because it creates that reaction strike. But part of the key with this is to use a very lightweight, unpegged Texas rig. I think that's huge. You want your weight to separate from the bait and then have your bait glide through the laydown or whatever cover it is that you're pitching into. A lightweight will allow for a much slower fall. It'll come apart from your bait and the bait will glide the rest of the way. It's really a key thing for me. From a hook standpoint, I really like the Fusion 19 wide gaps. That's kind of my standard flipping hook, but you really want a very lightweight, unpegged. That to me is a huge factor in this. Okay, moving on. Pretty much anywhere you go, a good standard bait to use is a small swim bait, whether that's like your power swimmer or your Kitech Fat Impacts, the 2.8 size or 3.3 size. Absolute gold anytime you're on pressured body of water. Obviously, I like to go with the Matt Steffen Dirty Jigs Guppy Head, but I like it in a very lightweight. We make an 1/8 ounce size. I think that's key because your bait will stay higher in the water column. You can reel at a much slower pace, which is a tantalizing thing for a fish. They have a hard enough time turning it down, and the longer you keep that bait in front of the fish, the more of a chance you'll have that they finally commit to it. So I really like an 1/8 ounce super slow retrieve with a 2.8 or 3.3 size swim bait. Really good way to generate bites, whether you're fishing from the bank or from a boat. Fish just cannot turn it down. It's like crack. All right, so then next up we got topwater. Topwater is, in my opinion, topwater is underutilized no matter where you're fishing and how pressured that body of water is. A topwater is a great way to generate bites all day long, not just in the morning or evening, but all day long if the conditions are right. But on a high pressured body of water, where most people won't throw topwater, a topwater is a great way to generate bites because the fish don't get a good look at it. They see it on the surface, they get a silhouette, and it looks like a bait fish or whatever it is. They don't truly know what it is. So a topwater is a really good type of, or a technique to use to generate bites on a pressured body of water. I prefer, if we're talking about topwaters, a prop style bait, just like the spin rocket. It's a great, well, first off, let me just say, I think it's being discontinued, which is kind of disappointing because Justin Lucas on the back has shown me how good this bait actually is. And there's a ton of guys that fish the pro circuit that love it. So I hope it's not going away, but it might actually be getting discontinued. I've heard rumors of that. But the key with a prop style bait is you can keep it in place, you can twitch it, and you can get those blades to sputter, which just gives the idea that it could be anything from a dragonfly on the surface, a mayfly, a feeding bluegill, a dying shad. There's so many different things that a prop style topwater bait will do or replicate or look like, that it just generates a lot of strikes. And because the fish don't see it that much on a high pressured body of water and they can't get a good look at it, it results in a lot of bites. So don't put your topwater away in a situation like that. Next up, you got your Ned Rigs, which are pretty much gold anywhere you go. You could pretty much throw a shaky head in the same category. It's more about having a bait like your Ned or your shaky head that you can keep in place, continue to shake. The fish just have a hard time turning it down. It's like a Wacky Rig. It's just one of those baits, and the fish are like, I shouldn't eat it, and then they eat it anyways. I don't get it, but it's a really good thing to do. I tend to prefer the Neds, like the Little General, just because it's a smaller bait, a smaller profile, and in super high pressured bodies of water, a lot of times the small bait, the small profile will get you more bites. The fish don't see as much of it. They don't get as good a look at it. It's just something that is not as intimidating to them, and therefore it leads to more bites. Along those same lines, you got your drop shots. If I'm fishing smallmouth, it's hard to say no to the max scent flatworm. If I'm fishing largemouth, the standard Morning Dawn Robo Worm is probably my go-to. These two baits are great, but really what it comes down to, again, is the drop shot. You can throw it out there, you can keep it in front of the fish, and keep it off the bottom a little bit, and it's a good way to generate strikes. It's just something the fish have a hard time saying no to. I also would like to add with all of these that because fishing is so mentally tough as it is, anytime you're fishing a pressured body of water, it's important to maintain mentally positive because you know you're not going to get as many bites. So if you can use baits that, like I said before, that weedless Wacky Rig, Use baits that are going to keep you from getting snagged to frustrate you and to lead you down more of a negative path from a mindset standpoint. You probably want to make those changes. So like a drop shot's a good bait for that. You might get stuck, but a lot of times you'll break the weight off. That's not as big of a deal as breaking off an entire bait where you're losing a lot of money and you're just losing a lot of time retying. So you also want to choose baits that are not going to make you frustrated throughout the day. If you put a big glide bait on and you're fishing from the bank and you end up getting stuck and you break a glide bait off, that's going to ruin your day. So from a mental standpoint, you're not going to be in a good place after that happens. So you just want to make sure that you're fishing in a manner that you're staying positive in. The last bait that I want to talk about is a silent crankbait like this Fritz side, which is one of my favorites in high pressured situations, because not only is it silent, and I know some of you were like, there's no such thing as a silent bait. A very quiet bait compared to one that has rattles, okay? This one doesn't have rattles. I also like it because it's a tight wobbling bait. So what happens in a situation like this, and this could also fall in line with, say, your silent lipless crankbaits, or baits that, you know, just are silent versus something that's got a lot of rattles in it, creates a lot of noise, you know, like square bills, that type of thing. You can, if you're throwing a loud rattling bait, in my opinion, those fish can hear that coming from a long ways away. If they hear that sound routinely and they've attributed that to something they want to stay away from, it's not helping you. If you can bring a bait past them without them knowing, or bring a bait to them and then snap the bait, say through a weed clump or through a log or off a stump, you're going to create that reaction strike. So they may not even want to eat, but they can't help themselves. They see something trying to get away and they go after it and they hit it without even really wanting it. If they know it's coming, you're going to lose that opportunity. So that's why in a super pressured body of water, I prefer to go with a silent bait. I think that makes a difference. So whether that's a crankbait or a lipless or a square bill, I think you might want to try it. It might get you a few more bites. So those are the baits that I like to use, guys. Anytime I'm fishing super high pressured bodies of water, we're seeing it more and more where, you know, you show up and the boat ramps are full, you show up to fish off the bank and there's 25 people standing there already. It's getting to be very tough to separate yourself. So I think it's important to either go very, very finesse with baits that the fish just can't turn down, or to use something that's going to create the reaction strike. I think if you throw baits that are in that category on either side, you're going to get more bites. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If it was, hit that like button. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video.